Hey folks, Scott here. In this review, I stated that there was a planned release date for the American home release of A Silent Voice. I was wrong. There is still no release date as of right now, and it is only available in English in the UK and Australia. I apologize for this mistake and wanted to inform you beforehand, as I state pretty confidently that there is, in fact, a scheduled American home release. Again, I apologize, and please enjoy the review.
I'm on the cusp of gold, and I got the worst fucking team. Like, if this is what gold is like, I want to stay in silver with the plebs forever.
Oh, good. You really are playing ranked. You're blaming your team.
Exactly.
Very good.
That's how you know you're getting up there.
That's
Yeah.
your first step into getting into Diamond.
Yeah, obviously.
So, welcome back to Anime FMK, where we talk about our favorite Overwatch characters. Okay, Diva. Fuck, marry, kill.
What? You present one option?
Yes.
Diva, I'm going to fuck her, marry her, and kill her.
Actually,
afterward.
no. There is actually there is actually an option. Like, God, that scene from Archer where they literally go down all of the list of characters and you list which one would you fuck, marry, or kill.
But that's the thing. If you can do your optimum thing to everybody, then it's not a game anymore.
Nah, it's not. It's kind of not.
Yeah. Who would you... I don't know. What are we doing? Silent Voice. Who... Fuck, marry, kill, Silent Voice. Quick.
We're doing this first.
We got to do it first.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
This is an uncomfortable movie.
That's the face where he's thinking fuck the little sister, but he doesn't want to say it.
Stay tuned to the. Never mind.
Guys, here we are once again behind this desk. This is the first thing we're recording today, which is why we're awkward and dumb and low energy.
Yeah.
Yep.
As opposed to when we get to the unsnip segment where we're awkward.
Yep, because we've been doing this for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that golden middle portion where everything comes together.
Yeah.
But right now, yeah, I have the opposite problem that I had when we came in here to talk about Mary and the Witch's Flower. We're all here like we said it all. We said it all outside the theater. Now I'm sitting here like, where do we even start? A Silent Voice is an anime film. It is slice of life. It's got some very mild magical realism elements. Mm-hmm. It is about a group of elementary school friends who things get real weird after a deaf girl joins their class, and as elementary schoolers who don't know social norms and mores, don't know how to act, don't know how to be good people, they're real bad to her.
Yep.
Everybody's a real dick to her all the time, and they're teasing her, they're stealing her hearing aid, they're making fun of the way she talks, they're throwing sand in her face in the playground. It's real bad. She has to stay out of school for a while because she is so sick of this nonsense. Eventually, she transfers schools, apparently to like a specialty school for people with disabilities. But the teachers get real mad at these elementary schoolers for the way they're fucking with this little girl. And they ask, who is to blame? Who is the scapegoat? Who can we pin it on? Guys, it's everybody. Everybody is doing this.
Yep.
And the main character, Shoya, also known as Yasho,
By his best friend.
yep. You can see in this moment, they've like rounded up everybody like, hey, this shit will not stand. People have been stealing her hearing aid. Those things are expensive. She's gone through 8 hearing aids in the last 3 months. That's not okay. We need to know who to blame. And you can see him. He's about to raise his hand. He's about to, like, you don't know what's going through his head. You don't know if he's thinking like, yeah, I fucked up and I got to take the fall for this, or everybody knows that I've been the ringleader here. It's not like I can get away with this. They'll go easier on me if I confess. I don't know, but you can see him about to raise his hand. And before the teacher sees that he's about to raise his hand, he's like, show ya. Stand up, motherfucker. So he doesn't even get credit for the fact that he was about to come forward. He gets hit real hard with this. And as elementary schoolers tend to, he says, well, yeah, okay, yeah, it was me. It wasn't just me, though. I mean, it was kind of everybody. And everybody turns on him.
Yeah. Basically, everybody's innate response is, oh, no, we don't have to take the fall for this. You're already in the limelight. We're going to push all of this off onto you. Mm-hmm. And even the things that we were caught doing, we can just blame on you cajoling us into doing it. And it's a brilliant scene because
it's sort of amazing just how quickly you see this power dynamic that he had been leading this entire time. He was picking on his fat friend. He was the coolest kid in class. He was walking tall. And in this one moment, you see everything flip around. And he becomes the outcast of the class. Like, there's this deaf girl over here that was getting picked on, and suddenly she means nothing to this one kid who dared to step out of line. And it's brutal. You see him getting pushed into the lake. His desk keeps getting vandalized over and over. Things that he was doing to this deaf girl are suddenly being done to him, but so much worse.
Yeah, it's done in montage, both of it, the bullying against her and then now the bullying against him, just to drive the parallels home. Same shots, same everything. He is the low man on the totem pole now.
Yeah, and this is a kid who doesn't have a disability, who they can pick on. So he gets it. He actually gets it kind of worse, which is balanced out by the fact that, I don't know, it's a really brutal scene, and they very quickly kind of skip to later on, I believe, to when they're in high school.
Yeah, I mean, it actually opens on later on.
Oh, yeah.
Because it opens on him making preparations to kill himself.
Yeah.
You see him leave a stack of money by his mom's bedside saying, hey, here's the money I owe you. We don't know for what yet. It turns out it's for all the hearing aids that he ruined that she had to pay for. He, quits his job and thanks, like, this was really affecting, like, having looked into some, like, what do people do when they're about to kill themselves? And, I mean, it's different, but this is one of the classic ways that people, like, if it's premeditated, like, yeah, they put their affairs in order. And then he's up on this bridge, he's about to jump, and right then, fireworks go off. And he stops and looks at the fireworks, and then just turns around and goes home.
And the fireworks become a reoccurring thing, as we see. And it's, he goes back home, and of course, his mom figures out exactly what was happening. And in a wonderful scene with them just sitting down at breakfast, everything's going normally, and as she's cooking the bacon, she's like, "So, Shoya, what made you want to kill yourself?" And, he tries to hold it off for a little bit, but it's obvious, like, what he was planning on doing. So he admits to it, and she tearfully holds up the money with a lighter in hand and says, "Promise you will not kill yourself, or I will burn all of this money." And he's like, "Okay, I won't." And she's like, "No, be specific. I will not kill myself. I'm sorry." And she's like, "Okay, good. Then I don't have to burn this money that is now on fire." Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, just...
So $10,000 just gone.
Yeah, just drop of a dime.
It's a really funny scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, so so I guess we're just gonna go through the plot of the movie. It's probably best to do it that way and then go over our thoughts afterward.
I mean, thoughts tend to creep in as we do it, but I think that's the way we found that kind of works.
Yeah. So as what happens next, actually, I think this is where we should actually break. Because now that we've had the time skip, let's talk about the first half of the movie so we don't, because here's the thing. Everything after this starts to get into more spoilery territory. If you've not seen A Silent Voice, and if you're see, that's the complicated thing because I kind of want to tell people whether or not they should see it, but that's...
Right. Well,
yeah.
But broad strokes, though, this is the story of this group of elementary school friends, how they kind of, broke up and went their separate ways, and then in high school, how they reconnected.
Yeah, because there were multiple characters that are introduced very early on in very effective manners because you get a feel for what all these characters are about. You get Shoya's friends, you have the kind of fat, awkward kid and the really cool kid who doesn't need to be bothered by anything. You also have this really popular girl who's gorgeous. She's she grows up into be a very beautiful young woman. And then you have this very shy girl with glasses. You also had the one girl who was very happy to learn sign language.
Yep.
She was like, "Yeah, I know, I'll do it. I want to be helpful." Who's then immediately turned into the goody two-shoes because she wanted to do what none of the other girls wanted to. They would rather just write in her notebook to communicate with the deaf girl instead of actually having to go through the trouble of learning it to make her life easier. Because why? Why bother? She's the odd one out, right? She's the freak who's making it harder for everybody else. And we break away from these characters as they start to fall out of his life, and he starts to move away from everybody. He realizes that, this is not like, I have no friends. I can't have friends. I was a monster. I was a bad person. And the film does this very effective thing of putting X's over everybody's faces. And at first, it's a little visually jarring. The film doesn't do a whole lot of that. But it's great at communicating to you instantly how he feels about these people. He can't look them in the eyes. They're not, he's not allowed to be a person. So, and, after all this is over, I believe before he was off to kill himself, he actually learns a little bit of sign and finds Shoko, the deaf girl, goes to her and tries to communicate with her one last time. And it goes, a little bit awkwardly. He apologizes, gives her the notebook that they were all writing in back when they were in elementary school, and then goes off. But after, the attempt to kill himself, he backs out at the last moment. He then tries to find her again. And it's kind of funny. This time he goes to the class that she's in and meets a young boy who claims to be her boyfriend. And it's a really funny segment because it was funny. The first time we meet this little dude, we don't know that it's we just think, oh, okay, who is this little girl? We find out, and he says, I'm her boyfriend, and then we're like, wait, what? You're a boy? Actually, no, the phrase he uses, she's my girlfriend, which made me think lesbian, and then he says, oh, I didn't know she was into younger guys, and then we're all like...
Yeah, and clearly something's not jibing here. I'm thinking, is he claiming this because it's aspirational? He wants to, he sees this other guy horning in on his territory. Here we're about to get into a mild spoiler. Yeah. Not her boyfriend, not a boy. It's her younger sister.
Yuzuru.
Yeah.
By the way, the thing that you'll notice about this film, all Japanese names, very Japanese. I remember all of them because all of these characters have something about them that made me remember them. And I like that because it can be very difficult for English speakers to remember these names. I know Japanese to a certain extent, and even I'm like, okay, so that's Shoya and that's Shoko. That's not going to get confusing. Naoka, okay. Makoto, oh boy. It's difficult, but these characters leave a very lasting impression on you. And the dub, by the way, is very good. Kira Buckland plays this the kind of leading antagonist role of this girl Naoko. Naoko. I think it's Naoko.
Naoko.
Yeah, Naoko. She's a right bitch, which is interesting because she starts off very nice, and not in that trying to be nice, trying to be oh, look at me, I'm so nice and friendly. No, she actually starts off hey, let me help you. But then when she realizes that she's being inconvenienced and her inner circle's being violated, she's like, fuck that, no, I'm not, no, never mind. Fuck her, I'm out. Kira Buckland plays her perfectly.
Here's the thing. She doesn't typically go out of her way to be cruel to Shoko, the deaf girl. But what she does do is as soon as it affects her, as soon as it's oh no, I have to learn sign language, she's the only one who, she's not doing this behind the adult's back. She stands up in class and says, I don't want to do this. I would rather keep using her notebook because writing down, that's something I already know how to do. Why do we have to make things easier for her? I want things to be easier for me.
Yeah. And they've already been inconvenienced too. Because when she offered hey, let me write down stuff for you, her teacher, which by the way, their teacher's a dick.
Yeah.
I'm glad that this movie did not go out of its way to make the teacher the super good guy who tries really hard.
How do I reach these kids?
No, it's none of that. He's actually kind of an asshole, which, by the way, this movie has a lot to say about adults, as well as these kids. Because, guess what? In Japan, bullying that doesn't just happen. A lot of teachers don't do anything about it. Teachers, some teachers can be very progressive and very nice. Other teachers will just let it happen or kind of treat their students like shit because they don't have time. They don't,
It's telling that when he does finally intervene, the principal is standing right behind him, making him do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you don't get to 8 lost hearing aids in 3 months without noticing that there's a problem.
Yeah, he could have stepped in any time. The fact that he points out Shoya tells you, he knew.
Yeah, and also that he knew it was everybody, and he's trying to find a scapegoat to get out of this with as little hassle as possible.
Yeah, because if it's a bunch of the kids, that only reflects more poorly upon him. But one bad apple, well, I mean, you
Yeah.
know what happens. And so it's really gross, and it's really hard to watch. And we haven't talked much about Shoko because
And honestly, that's kind of a throughout the first 2 acts of this movie, she's kind of a non-entity. Like, she's a plot device for these other characters to move around, and I found that was kind of a problem. Like, you get so little of what's going on in her head. She's trying to be friendly to these kids no matter how badly they shit on her. Like, she's just saying, I'm gonna fuck up the sign language. I remember this is friends.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, can we be friends? We're friends. Let's be friends. Like, just turning the other cheek until all 4 are raw and bleeding.
well, and but I thought that was actually more effective, mostly because our perspective on this is supposed to be a little bit one-sided early on, because as we see her interact with them, it's difficult for you to get a read on how she feels and what she thinks. She tries to be friendly, she tries to be forward, and when we're kids, and the reason I think it's so effective is that when you're kids, you don't know. You can't know. You're not aware of these things yet. You're not empathetic. Children are monsters. And so it's so interesting because if we'd gotten more of the insight from her, I felt like it would have betrayed the message and the tone that it was going for early on, which is, yeah, you don't know what she's thinking, but you know that she's trying. You can see it. And it's heartbreaking because you can tell, like, she has the best of intentions and she's constantly being shit on.
It would have been nice to see her at some point get frustrated, at some point get angry, and you never do.
Well, yeah, but they tell you why. They show you why. Because she is the odd one out. So again, we're going to get some more into some spoilers because we've talked a lot about the story. I know this is really, not formatted the best we could do.
Welcome to Anime FMK.
Yeah, welcome to Anime FMK. We're like, if you haven't seen this film, see this film. Like, if you're curious about it, like, it was the big film of, I think, 2017 or 16. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, see this film during its one-night-only limited engagement in theaters because it still doesn't have an official home video release in the U.S.
It will be. It will be.
Are they finally giving it one?
Yeah.
Thank
so,
God.
like, if you haven't seen this film yet, I mean, I don't want to tell you to stop watching, but we're about to get into some real, honest-to-God spoilers, and this is a beautiful, gorgeous film full of emotional depth. I guess I'm tilting my hand if that I liked this film, but I got to tell you, see A Silent Voice if you have not already. And if you're sticking around for the spoilers, well, I can't stop you, but...
Yeah, by the way, if it seems like Kieran's been real quiet, you said you watched this just this morning, yeah, and you were still trying to process it.
I don't have a lot to say. I don't have a lot to say for the plot summary. Mine is all about. You guys do the plot summary. I'm
all right.
still trying to put stuff together.
Like, yeah, no, I mean, I get that because I watched it last night, and yeah, I feel like I am still trying to like process it and put it all together.
By the way, we bought tickets. I got sick, so we had to use a European copy. It got released in Europe on DVD and Blu-ray, so hooray! Yeah. But I got sick, so we couldn't see it in theaters. Apologies again. So
there's. The thing is, like, for as much as he's going on about the plot, I appreciate that. That's not where the story really shines for me. I'm gonna lay that forward. It's not really what's in the story. It's a lot of how it's told. That's what gets me the most. Is this movie has pacing in scenes that I've really never seen in an animated thing, or at least very rarely you'll see something this experimental happen. Yeah. Things are very jarring because the main character is always looking down, and so people just kind of happen. You'll see faces cut off, and it is one of the most interesting and honest representations of someone dealing with depression that I've ever seen. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because the film is. The film kind of Shoya wants to believe that he is this irredeemable bully, that what he did can't be atoned for, and that what he's getting, he's accepted as his life. And there was a part of me that was wondering, like, man, it's so interesting to see a movie from a bully's perspective, But then you kind of stop and think about it, and it's like, I think a lot of us were kind of like that as kids to a certain extent. Maybe not as bad as he was.
I think I was a little shit.
Yeah,
It
oh
was
yeah.
awful.
We were like, and again, children are monsters because they haven't learned empathy. That is something you have to learn through social interaction. It's gonna be rough at first, and if you have the wrong teachers and the wrong adults, it could get way worse.
Like, here's the thing. Sometimes I was the bully as a kid. When I wasn't, because I moved around a lot as a kid, so my social standing changed a lot depending on what school I was in at the time. But they say that the problem with capitalism, the way you get, in capitalism, the way you get the have-nots to keep the haves in power is to make it aspirational. Like, yeah, maybe someday I'll be a millionaire and then I'll want all these tax dodges in place. That's how it was. If I was not the bully, it's not because I wanted bullying to stop and everybody to get along. I wanted to rise to the top of that pecking order and then be picking on the people below me. I wasn't the victim because I was a good person, y'all.
So what you see here from Shoya's perspective is a person who desperately wants to atone for what he did, but it's never that easy. Because even if somebody says, it's okay, I forgive you, that you still carry all of the scars that you made on your way there. And Shoya was a little shit, but again, he was never outright terrible. And you could see,
He was pretty outright terrible.
well, you could see in the moments where he crossed the line where he was like, oh shit, I didn't know that would happen. And that's the important part with him, is that some of their characters would just kind of double down, but you could see where he was like, I shouldn't have done that. I need to back off. But things were rolling. Like, once you're caught up in that, once you're caught up in this group mentality, it starts becoming less of a moral thing and more of a, but if I stop, what happens? And we see what happens.
Yeah.
We see what happens when he tries to stop doing this, and he's like, oh shit, we've all come to the end of this. Who's going to take responsibility? And it's all on him.
Yeah, and so he has this conflict through this internal conflict of, yeah, on the one hand, I feel this internalized shame for the way I acted. On the other hand, like, yo, you were all right there with me, though.
And
Yeah.
oh my god, the individual responses from some characters. So Miki, the girl with the glasses, played by Amberly Connors.
That's the blonde one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The dirty blonde, yeah, with the beautiful hair, and oh my god, the character designs in this are so goddamn good.
They are.
So she.
Yeah, she sticks to this. It was all Shoya. I would never do something like that. She sticks to that story all the way from the beginning of this film to the end.
Yeah, and it's
It
oh
is
man,
so uncomfortable.
It is so uncomfortable because you can tell that she might not be an overtly shitty person. In fact, she seems to believe that she did nothing wrong. And it's so maddening because it's like, bitch,
Yeah.
we saw you. We saw what you did. We heard what you said. You laughed with them. You didn't think a second thing about it. Only when you were looked in the eyes and told, hey, this is really cool and bad, did you stop to think like, oh my God, you're right. It was so bad. I would never. And it's like, shit, dude.
Yep. And then there's the other like alpha girl, the darker hair.
Yeah, Naoka.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's the opposite. She will own right up to, I mean, not in front of authority where she might get in trouble for it, but she's like, yeah, no, we were shitty to her because like she continually victim blames. Like we had this great thing, we were all friends, and as soon as she showed up, shit got weird.
Yeah, and that was, oh man, I've seen that happen. Like it is amazing. These characters hit really close to home.
A lot of this film hits really close to home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's this scene where they've kind of like all reconnected and are on the surface level like friends again, part of a group, and they go to this, what is it, festival or carnival or something?
Yeah, they go to an amusement park.
Yeah.
Yeah, full on like it was like a Six Flags of Japan.
Yeah, and the main character, Choya, you hear his internal monologue, and he's laughing, having fun with everybody, and all of the X's have fallen off of everybody's face. He's feeling good, and then his internal monologue, is this okay? Is it okay to be having fun? But I still did all this shitty stuff though. Is something's bad's gonna happen? And of course it does because it is all surface level still.
and it's neat because it happens when Naoka introduce one of his friends. He had two close friends, this fat kid and a kid that reminds me of fucking Rio from Devilman Crybaby. Because he's blonde, he's got this pretty face.
Yep.
And he's always the coolest one. He's just standing in the corner laughing like, I don't need to do anything. I'm the coolest kid here.
Yeah, he was the one who, when they were kids, like, he made this exile, this excommunication of Shoya stick.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
It feels like if everybody else might have, like, pinned it all on him for a while, but then, like, as soon as the heat is off, like, okay, come on back, like, we can be friends again. But this blonde-haired kid, he's like, no, he is out. He is on the outs. He tried to rat us out, and that shit cannot stand.
Yeah, so he basically replaces Shoya, and it's, again, really brutal stuff. So Naoka is like, hey, come with me. I want to get some takoyaki. Specifically, I want to get some takoyaki. So they go off, and he gets the takoyaki from the clerk, and then you see a very familiar skin tone and clothes, and he looks up and he sees this kid working the takoyaki stand, which, by the way, two core. One, oh shit, it's that character again. And two, oh, Mr. Cool Kid is working at a takoyaki stand at an amusement park. Probably didn't do incredibly well. Especially with the look on his face and the clothes he's wearing. You can tell, like, this super cool kid from school is not happy to be working this job. And instantly, it's like, oh shit, all that shame, all that guilt comes back immediately. It's not even like there's no build up to it. It's just X is back on people's faces.
Yep.
Like, and he turns to Naoka and he's like, you shouldn't have done that. And she's like, what? I thought you could get over this. And no, there's no just getting over it. And yeah, things kind of quickly go, like, not terrible for the rest of the day, but very quickly just he's put back in this place of insecurity. We haven't talked about, like, oh man, I feel bad. So I said I remembered everyone's names. This one character has a specifically difficult name. He's his friend.
The one that looks like Mineta.
Yeah, he looks like Mineta from
Yeah.
from freaking My Hero Academia.
Oh yeah, he totally does.
It blew my mind. I'm like, who inspired who here? I think Mineta had been inspired by this character because I know the manga's been around for a silent voice for a long time. Which, by the way, this film was based on a manga and it shows.
Yeah, and he's this, like, I had this friend as a kid. I probably was this friend as a kid sometime. He's just a nice guy, but, kind of pudgy, kind of a little shorter than everybody, kind of a loser for reasons that are not really his fault, kind of awkward. But because Shoya, he's the one who gives him the Yasho nickname.
Yeah.
Like, because he's nice to him once, he just gloms right onto him like, okay, we're going to be best friends from now on. Oh, thank God, somebody stuck their neck out for me.
Yeah, because this other kid is trying to steal his bike. Like, literally like, hey, let me borrow your bike. What? No, I don't even know you, but I need to get home and I don't have a bike. And so Shoya, Poe's trying to commit suicide at this point. He's like, no, I'm not just gonna stand here while this poor kid gets bullied. And he walks over and then he's like, here, just take my bike. And of course it got stolen.
Yeah.
He steals it. And then a couple days later, or at least maybe even a day later, the kid shows back up and he's like, hey, I found your bike. And look, I'm glad you had your address on it. He tossed it in a fucking rice field, man.
Yep.
And almost instantly, this character, like, because you see him in the background on occasion, still X over his face until he steps in to save his bike. And it's this, he's just so friendly. And he's an extrovert, and he's like, hey, we're friends now. Let's hang out.
Yep.
And the X falls away.
Yeah, and you can see that change, and then you can see the next change too, because this guy's way too clingy.
Oh yeah,
he just is, because he has no other friends in the world. He's got nothing else going for him, and you can see the moment where Shoya is like realizes this is kind of weird, and then just lets it go, like, yeah, but whatever. It's just the way he is, and forgives him for being a little weird and a little clingy, and decides to be his friend anyway.
And the best part about it is he finds out you can see how quickly he finds out that this guy really wants to be his friend. He wants to hang out with him and grab food with him and do everything with him. And yeah, it's clingy. You can instantly tell, like, okay, dude, you're at an 11. Turn this down to a 7, bro.
Yep.
But it's what he needs. You can see that in this moment, he needs that. Now, again, we kind of left Shoko off here because, yeah, she's not a complete non-entity, but through a lot of this early part of this film, she's kind of more in the background as someone that he remembers and part of these events.
Yeah.
But it isn't until after they become friends that she actually takes a step back into his life.
And especially during the early high school stuff, because she's just not there. He is trying to reach her and reconnect with her, and she is not physically present in the scenes because that's
Yeah.
his challenge at the time, is to try and create some kind of a connection there, or at least touch base with her long enough to say, hey, I am so sorry I was shitty.
Yeah, so he finds her at her classes, finds the little sister, which at the time, like, I was 90% sure that was a girl. I was like, yeah, that doesn't seem like, partially because the dub's tipping its hand a little bit by, like, that doesn't sound like a girl trying to be an actual little boy. That just kind of sounds like a girl who dresses like a tomboy. Yeah, and as we find out, she's very protective of her big sister. And any guy who's looking for her, he's like, you're probably a shitbag, get out. It isn't until Shoko notices that he's been dropping by her class trying to talk to her, she goes over, talks to him, they talk a little bit, and yeah, they start signing with each other. And it's a beautiful scene because you see Shoya's friend and the little sister spying on them. And of course, Shoya's friend is, I'm just going to call him Mineta, because I cannot, for the life of me, remember his name. It's like Kanagasawa or something. Again, once you reach 4 syllables, a little tough. Give us a nickname. So they're watching, and he tries to get cold feet and like, maybe I shouldn't give you this notebook. And she's like, no, I want this notebook. Falls into the river. They both jump in. Like, and we'll skip over some of the plot points from here on out because it's mostly just the little sister learning to trust this guy.
Yeah, one point that I loved though was him saying, like, yeah, I guess I felt like I needed a reason to look you up. I needed an excuse. And she says, yeah, I felt the same way. Like, what you realize as they start to, I say reconnect, they were never connected before, but as they form this relationship, you realize, no, she wants to connect to him too. Like, even with as shitty as he was, she is super interested in, like, yeah, let's hang out. Let's have this friendship. And eventually, and I think this might be the point where we have to say, like, by the way, spoilers ahead, ahoy.
Yeah.
She straight up says, I like you. Or I love you, depending on how you want to translate it.
Yeah, no, it's I love you.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, so something you cannot avoid in the dub here.
I think they did a really good job with it, actually. The way she says, I love you in her, like, the way deaf people talk.
Oh, yeah, by the way, actual deaf actress.
Oh,
Yeah,
did not know that.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah, the actress is actually.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which, like, probably a lot of angry Tumblr people probably ready to be like, hey, so what's this non-deaf actress? No, they got one for
Yeah.
both sides.
I mean, I think you have to. I don't think there's
Yeah.
a way for a non-deaf person to do that voice and not have it come off as mockery.
yeah.
But yeah, the way she says it, she really elongates the U, and he mishears that as moon, which
Which, yeah, so in this scene, the moon is hanging in the background. It's like near dusk, so it's a waning moon. It's visible in the sky, and she says in the Japanese version, "Suki desu," which in Japanese is "I like you," but in this context, very very contextually, it's "I love you" or "I have feelings for you," and so, but with her, impediment, or speech impediment due to the fact that she's deaf, it sounds more like tsuki, which means moon. And it's kind of brilliant because it kind of shows that Shoya is he has no clue that what she actually means because she's so confused. Like, the moon? What? He looks over and is like, yeah, I guess the moon's really pretty right now. And she gets frustrated because she doesn't want to sign this. She wants to say it. She doesn't want it to be like, she wants to communicate with him like he communicates with other people. And that's what's heartbreaking about it because it's already so difficult and she feels like if she signs it, it doesn't mean as much.
Yeah, and this is where I feel like we're finally starting to get a sense of her character and what and from this point on, more and more and more.
Yeah.
Because at first that could have been just, oh, so fucking convenient to turn this into a love story, and of course she loves him because this female character exists to love the male protagonist. But you realized, or at least I realized, the more this went on, no, she has such a low opinion of herself because people have been shitting on her whole life. The fact that even as shitty as he was to her, that he is now expressing an interest in her, like, yeah, of course, in her head, he's way up here and she's way down here, and oh my god, senpai noticed me.
And luckily, it never plays. Like, luckily, even though that comes from a place of kind of desperation, luckily, very luckily, Shoya is a good person who looks out for her, who wants the best for her. So when those feelings, and they do slowly become reciprocal, like they were basically there from the very beginning with, or at least they developed very quickly with her. He cares about her very deeply.
But it's all mixed up in this internalized shame on both sides, so it is so hard.
Yeah, which, by the way, there's a scene at the amusement park which broke me. I was like, I had to hold myself together because I'm like, if I start crying at this scene, I'm going to have to pause the film. It's when Naoka is like, fine, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ride the Ferris wheel. Hey, Shoko, come ride the Ferris wheel with me. And the kid, the little sister, like a fucking boss, is like, hold on, take pictures for me. Give Shoko the camera. And they get on this Ferris wheel.
After hitting video record.
Yeah.
As it turns out.
Yeah, they go up on that on that Ferris wheel. And the last shot you see of the Ferris wheel before there's the quick time skip is just Shoya looking up. You see it from the, it's a great shot. From the Ferris wheel, you can see Shoya down below, and it cuts to night. And so the little sister, Yuzuru, shows up and goes into his room and is like, hey, so I've got some hidden video, which hadn't watched it until now. I'm kind of amazed because the first thing I would have done was sit down and watch it myself. Yeah. It's like, hey, so let's see what happened on that Ferris wheel ride. Sits down, and Naoko just lays into her, first verbally and then a bit physically later, but lays into her like, I hate you. And I know you're not a bad person, probably not, but you ruined everything. You ruined our dynamic. Like, and you keep apologizing, but you don't get it. Why don't you get it that you're bad for us? And the most heartbreaking thing is like, no, you don't understand. And this is Shoko telling her, I don't need you to hate me. I hate me. I hate myself. Mm-hmm. And Shoko's response is violent. She slaps her.
Naoko's.
I'm sorry. Naoko's response to Shoko is violent, and she slaps her and chides her for not fighting back. And again, victim blaming. Like, this is your fault. If you just fight back, if you stand up for yourself, or like learn that you don't belong, you do everybody better.
Yeah, and there is nothing Shoko can do differently. There is no course of action she can take that would make Naoko, okay, now we're cool. Like, yeah, it is a no-win situation for her, and God, if I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I hope I haven't been on the Naoko side of that, but boy, have I seen it.
Yeah, and it's like physically an uncomfortable scene. It's very hard to watch, and I'm very glad this film doesn't shy away from those scenes, because otherwise it would have come off so empty. But during that scene where she says, I hate myself, it is so hard to watch, because when I was a fat gay kid in high school and in a Bible school, and I know what bullying is like. I know how it's so easy to internalize that and think that you're the problem. I know how it's so easy to be lame and not and have no friends. When I was in school, I was lucky enough to have well-off parents. I was middle class. I was growing up in Apple Valley, California, a redneck area. A lot of my friends didn't have a lot of the things I had. I had I had the Xbox when it came out. I had all of these systems as soon as they came out. My friends would come over to my place to play games at my house. I had a Dreamcast first. I had a PlayStation 2 first. I had a GameCube first. I had all of these things. Between like my first year as a middle schooler and my first year as a high schooler, no, my last year, yeah, I'm sorry, my last year as a middle schooler and my first year as a high schooler, yeah, my one of my friends started acting really shitty to me, and I couldn't understand why, and I kind of like I asked him, why are you being such an asshole? Like, I used those words specifically. Now, by the way, I was at a Christian school. You're not allowed to say that shit at all. You can't even tell your friends to shut up. That's how strict they were. And he responded with, because I was never your friend, you fat idiot. You had everything I didn't. I got in trouble for using the word asshole. He got in nothing. Nobody cared that he just told this kid, I'm not your friend, I'm just using you. No, I got in trouble for calling him an asshole. That stuck with me for years. Like, that gave me trust issues, like, really badly. I was like 13 at the time. And it wasn't until I was well into my adulthood that I finally started to get past that shit. Because, it's laid out very blatantly to you, like, no, people don't like you for who you are. They like you for what you can give them. And when you're as pathetic as I was as a kid, let me tell you, I was fat, stupid, and not socially, competent. You take that and you roll with it, or you run with it. You ran with this idea that, no, people can't like you. They won't like you. And so, yeah, like, this film says a lot of things and says them blatantly, like they are said. There's no artistic choice to, try and convey it through metaphor. No, it's blatant.
It's all out there.
So that scene, it's really, really hard to watch. And again, I'm really glad they're here, because the movie is so hesitant to really, really get into Shoko's character, and there's a reason. Because once you finally start to get her perspective, that's when the things start to swell. This movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes long, and you don't really get a feel for Shoko's character until halfway through about what is going through her mind.
If that.
Yeah. So,
yeah, speaking of getting into her character and what's in her mind and what she's going through, yeah, she's suicidal. And finally, she and Shoya at this point has finally, he's in good not just with her sister, but, her mom, who hates his ass.
Oh, yeah. Outright was, she slaps him the first time she sees him after all these years.
Yeah.
Takes Yuzuru and is like, you do not hang out with that boy. But at this point, both Yuzuru and Shoko have luckily seen, no, we're going to hang out with whoever we want to. That boy is a good boy.
Yeah, and we know that as the viewer, but, Shoko's mom slaps a lot of people.
Shoko's mom ripped out Shoya's mom's earring.
Yep.
So we don't, it's confusing at first. I didn't understand what had happened at first.
Yeah.
We see her go to Shoko's mom with the money to pay for the hearing aids. And she's she tries, you see from Shoya's perspective in the car, you see his mom hey, come out here. And the mom, and Shoko's mom is like, no, we're going to talk over here now. Shoya's mom comes back bleeding from the ear. And we don't see later why her earring's ripped out. Yeah, Shoko's mom straight up fucking got in her face. And what does Shoya's mom do? Takes it.
Yep.
And doesn't blame her.
Yeah, cause yeah, from Shoko's mom's perspective, what? You think this is about money? You think that's the problem? But what else can they do this late in the day?
Yeah. And it's amazing because slap Shoya, and later on, and oh man, okay, we'll get into the scene when it happens, but she gets up in another girl's face, and it's brutal.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, so Shoya has gotten in good enough. Like, the mom is tolerating him at least. She's not, like, warm and friendly. Why would she be? But he is going with Shoko's family out to see these fireworks.
yeah, at a summer festival.
Yeah. And at one point, Shoko leaves, and he's still hanging around for a while, and then he's like, oh, where'd she get to? Oh, well, he's got to go up to their apartment to get something that the little sister forgot.
Yeah,
the camera.
forgot her camera.
Yeah, and he gets up there, and oh shit, there is Shoko standing on the rail of their balcony. And guys, you can tell just exactly how Japanese this kid is by the fact that he takes off his shoes before he goes to.
Well, she's still standing on the balcony, and she's starting to climb as he's taking his shoes off. He's like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
And he realizes, because I don't think he would have bothered with the shoes if he didn't realize that, oh shit, she's about to jump.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't realize it yet. Like, it hasn't, like, he can see that she's climbing up, and it has not fully processed in his brain. Everything's happening in slow motion. And oh my God, the scene, the curtains, you see the curtains go up, and she's standing there, and then the curtain falls, and she's gone.
Yeah.
And it is so, like, I think pulling a fake out like that is super tough to do. I think this did it brilliantly, where it gives you just long enough of thinking, oh fuck, she's gone, she fell. That's where this movie's going.
But he grabs her. But here's where the film does, like, he could have just pulled her back up and then been okay. And I would have forgiven the film for that, because it's like, okay, that was a really effective segment. Yes, sold it, so I'm going to be okay if everything's all right after it, but it's not.
No.
He grabs her, and you think for a moment he might lose her, but no, she grabs on. She listens to him. Well, reads his mouth. And she's like, no, okay, all right, I'll pull myself back up. But at this point, he's halfway over the railing, and he goes.
Yep.
And he falls into the river and hits the bottom. And as he's floating back up, he's like, it's so cold. And then the blood starts coming out. And he's like, it's warm. And it goes to black.
Yeah, and then after that, it's largely from Shoko's perspective. It hops around a little bit. You don't know what's happened to him for a while. You know he's in the hospital. You don't know if he's dying. You don't know if he's paralyzed. You don't, like, it could have been any number of things. Turns out he's in a coma.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, we did skip over one big scene in, like, it is, and it's a big scene because it's kind of the like the lowest point for the main character is actually the scene when they're all hanging out with each other, and it's on
It's on the bridge.
It's on the bridge. Mm-hmm. And this is where Shoya finally loses it. This is where he's like, you're all terrible fucking people, and the ones who aren't terrible are stupid. And he tells it to everybody. He tells everybody what they needed to frankly be told.
Yeah.
But in the
And they hit back at him too, and he's like, yeah, you think I don't know that I'm a piece of shit too?
yeah. And by the way, I've been there. I have been at that place where I'm like, oh, look at you thinking that you're so good, but you're actually a piece of shit too. Congratulations. We're all shitty together. And he's not yelling at them. He's not even being that aggressive. He's just flat out saying, like, what their problem is. And in Japanese culture, you are non-confrontational. That is just very, like, it's very difficult for you to just flat out look somebody in the eye and say, yeah, by the way, you're doing some shitty things. Cut that shit out.
Well, he's not. He's curled
Oh, yeah.
up.
Yeah.
He's like muttering it under his breath because this is when he's made some improvements to try and look at people. That's the whole point of the X's on their faces. And now this is when, like, they don't happen in this scene, but now people start getting X's back on their faces.
Yeah. And he doesn't say it to their faces. He
Yeah.
curls up in a ball. And everyone's still like, that's too much. That's too much. And from my perspective, I'm like, no, this is all something you need to hear, but you can't. You don't want to accept that you all were a problem. You can't. So they all like, and oh, I do like the fact that there's this new kid. And they treat him exactly like he's the new guy. Like the story treats him like he's the new guy.
Yeah, he's just a friend of...
The girl who learned to sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not sure if they're dating or if they're just friends or what, but he kind of comes along with her, and he's kind of just always on the sidelines of the group going, I don't know.
yeah, and it's kind of great. Like,
Yeah.
like at first there was a part of me that was like, so what are you? Like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to feel like, what are you and who are you?
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like that new kid who wasn't involved with any of this nonsense. So when he says or does things that drudge up these painful memories, he's allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And then, like, the meanest thing he has to say to him is like, you're not even part of our group. But that actually hurts him because he's like, I thought we were friends.
Yeah.
So he walks home, and he's effectively, everyone but Shoko, he's pushed them all away. And the worst part is, Shoko puts this on herself. Shoko's the one who's like, I'm the one who broke this. I'm the one who pushed Shoya this far. Like, and again, it's not either of theirs fault. It's
Yeah.
everybody not communicating, not growing and understanding. And that's why she tries to kill herself. So when Shoya falls, again, she's like, I have to make this right. I have to go to all these people that he pushed away because of me.
Yeah, and so she goes around, she makes the rounds to everybody in the group, like, when he wakes up, he wants everybody to be there and to be his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's going around to everybody like, I want to fix what I ruined. How do we fix this?
And it's great because Naoka won't let her in the room. She's been by his side the entire time, which, by the way, fascinating. Naoka is the one who sits by his bed like, no, I want to be there when he wakes up. And I was like, wow, that says a lot of things about her. Because she actually tries to reconnect with him. She even tries to be all like flirty even. But he fucking hates her. And he can't say it in so many words until finally, you know, like he does actually like I hate you, go away. And pushes her away, which is why I think she comes back after he has the accident. Which, by the way, the people who dredge his body out of the river are actually his old friends, the fat kid and the cool kid who basically had exiled him. So she sticks by him. And in maybe the second most brutal scene in the entire thing, she assaults Shoko when she finally comes out there and is like, you keep coming back here. You need to go away. And Shoko's mom has none of it.
Yeah.
Shoko's mom goes out there and hits her. Once, like a full-on hit, and then a follow-up like, don't you fucking touch my daughter. And that's when Shoya's mom has to come out and pull them apart like, you're not doing the right thing. This isn't going to help. It may make you feel better right now, but nobody is going to gain from this. And finally, after all of this, I can't remember this. Oh yeah, and by the way, it's really sad too because Yuzuru, the little sister, she takes all these pictures throughout the entire film, and they're usually of dead animals or dead insects, and it's really morbid, but they're beautiful shots. In fact, she wins this
Photo competition.
Yeah, by taking a picture of where a bird had died, and it's this beautiful shot, and you figure out that she took pictures of dying animals because she knew her sister wanted to die, and she thought if she showed her what death looked like, she wouldn't do it.
That's what probably hit me the hardest, just knowing that these two characters, the sister and the mom, had been living with this suicidal person and knowing it every day and not being able, just like flailing around, what do we do to help?
Oh, well, and at some point, Shoko and Yuzuru's grandmother dies, but honestly...
Yeah, that felt like an afterthought.
I honestly felt like it was just a way to get, to push Shoya away for a little bit. That did feel kind of like an afterthought, but no. So finally, Shoya wakes up, though, and he doesn't understand what's happened. Because the last thing he remembers is, oh shit, Shoko. So he pulls off all of the stuff, all of the catheters and stuff. I
mean, I guess he probably would have had to pull off a catheter, but they kind of, look, we're not looking for medical realism here.
Yeah.
You wake up after being in a coma for a week or however long it was, you're not popping everything off and going for a run, but for dramatic effect, we'll accept it.
Yeah. And so he goes out and he finds her at the bridge.
Which is where they've returned to time and time again to feed the koi together. It's like, yeah, I'm always here on Tuesday. That's how we finally reconnected with her, was finding out, oh, if I look for her there on Tuesday, I can always find her.
Yeah, and he even says Tuesday's almost over. So he goes running for her, and finally, and basically the last scene of really the last scene before.
I mean, there's a lot of denouement is the thing, but yeah, this is definitely the final climax.
Yeah, he sits down with her, and he's like, "I need you to teach me how to be a person." And I know that kind of rushing through that scene, but that's the point of it. It's like he sits down with her, and at that moment, they're 100% on the same level. They see each other as equals and as people in love with each other. And the film does not go super romantic with it, but it tells you, like, yeah, these two, whether or not it's romantic or just inseparable because of what happened, they have a bond that can't be broken.
Yeah, she is finally fully a person to him, not a reminder of his old shame, not somebody who he has to make amends with, like just another person.
And he is no longer this, this reminder of the fact that she is literally a flawed human being. She cannot fix her hearing. She can't be normal. But in here, she sees him as an equal to her, somebody who loves her and wants to be loved by her, and wants to learn from her and can. And it's such a good scene. And the scenes that follow after is that he decides to go back to school and see these people and finally look them in the eye. And it's so difficult for him, and he almost pussies out at one point.
And it's really cool to see, too, that, like, for most of this movie, this circle of friends who knew each other in elementary school and some of their family members seem like the entire world. And there's a scene where he's going into a classroom, and you remember that there are all these people in this school who have nothing to do with this. And you hear just this, them talking, and I don't know what this was like in the original Japanese version, but in the dub at least, they just seem like folks, just friendly, like, oh, hey, Shoya's back. Hey, looking good, man. Hey, you woke up. Congrats, you're better.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, most of the people here are just totally normal, friendly human beings that he's lost sight of the ability to recognize that.
And Miki comes to him with, okay, so in Japan, it's common that when somebody is deathly sick or in the hospital, they make 1,000 cranes.
Yep.
They couldn't. There was just not enough time. He woke up too soon. God damn you, Shoya. Why did you have to ruin these cranes? And so he wakes up, and Miki, again, Glasses Girl, who's like, I never did anything wrong, comes up and is like, I'm sorry. We tried to make them all in time. She's near tears, like, I'm sorry. They're not finished. And he's like, no, thank you. Nobody's done something like this for me. And it's in that moment he's like, oh, shit, people don't hate me. And that's when, Also, great scene with, like, Naoka's character here is capped off in the perfect possible manner. She's still a bitch.
Yep.
But she's like, I'm a bitch. I'm sorry. I am. But she signs to Shoko and calls her a moron. It's like, and Shoko's like, no, you did it wrong. No, this is how you say moron. And she's like, fuck you. I'm just going to go for now. And walks off embarrassed. And it's such a good shot because they all realize she signed to her. And if you heard the noise I made, I was like, that was so good. I was like, thank you. If she's going to have any sort of redemption, it needed to be embracing who she is, but also still making some steps. And it's a great scene.
This movie's real good, y'all.
Yeah.
Like it deals with some heavy shit in a real raw way, but still with humor and with truth and big one of these. Watch movie, please. Good movie. Like, I don't even know what to say after all this.
Yeah, I don't.
So good.
Like, Your Name and this film came out at around the same time and were considered to basically be rivals. I love Your Name. Your Name is a beautiful film. It's gorgeous. It's definitely one of Makoto Shinkai's like best works in terms of just an overall film. This A Silent Voice says things and goes places that I have never seen an anime go. It talks about things in a manner that is respectful but very real. It's a beautifully made film with pacing problems. It feels like it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. But that's the worst thing I can say about it, because otherwise it's gorgeous and the characters are so real and the topics it brings up are so important. This is probably going to be one of my favorite animated films of all time, and definitely my top 10 favorite films of all time. This is a masterpiece.
For fear of oversharing, I've just been processing the whole movie. Like after I saw it, I couldn't stop crying. The movie itself isn't what's interesting to me. It's how it's talking about stuff outside of the film. I took it as a lens to myself and how I look at things, because this film offers the most interesting and provocative depiction of someone dealing with social anxiety and depression and the internalized guilt and anger that comes post-suicidal ideation. And again, I don't want to overshare anything, but that is incredibly relatable. That is something that is very rare to find in media done in such a compelling and forceful way. Just how well this movie juggles the different scenes and going from just the sparks of things that you notice because your head's always down and you're never looking at people in the eye because you're always in your head about something. You're always upset. Something is always like you're waiting for something to go wrong. And yeah, it's a lengthy film, but I think it is deliberately doing what it needs to highlight everything that's important about this journey from elementary to high school and reconciling that shit's tough and people are shitty and how to deal with all that. And that this does have a bit more of the magical realism, not to the extent that like Your Name does, but it is there. A lot of like, I can't believe you just woke up from a coma and walked out to the fucking bridge. Where are anybody? Plenty of that if you want to nitpick, but that's not the point of this. Far from it. This film is absolutely fantastic. I struggle to think of a movie, much less animated, that really delves into bullying, suicide, adolescence, and really the culmination of finding where you belong and forging your identity in a space where you hate yourself. How do you make something out of something you feel is unusable? Like if you trying to build up your character, but you hate everything about yourself, why even bother? And it has a very resounding positive final note that I just destroyed me when the X's finally fall off everybody and his ears open for the first time and you realize that Shoko isn't the only deaf one in the film. It's amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, I don't know. We've talked about pacing and about the film's length. I don't know whether this film could have been as effective at a shorter length. Like, maybe it could have. I don't know. But the reason why I don't know is that I've never seen another film try to tackle this subject matter in this way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if the alternative to this film at the length it's at is nothing because nobody else is doing that. So I will give this movie every minute of its runtime. I would give it another hour if it could impact me the same way. And I'm always the person saying, fuck you, no movie should be over 2 hours.
Yeah. Like, look, if I had an option, if we were going by movies released in like 2017, was it? Gosh, I wish I could remember if it was. I think it was probably 2016 actually. Yeah, 2016, and Your Name was too, right? Okay, cool. Yeah. So if I had to choose a film in 2016 I want to marry, done.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I liked Your Name. I recommended Your Name. Your Name is hot fucking horseshit compared to this movie.
And it really, like, this film, I'm assuming you've already seen it, or you just like listening to the plot summary. The plot summary, even if you got that, just go watch it, because the events as they're told is not a substitute for seeing it unfold and how they tell it. It's
Absolutely.
really not the story beats here. It's not the A to B. It's how everything works in this. That's the most intriguing to me. It's so interesting.
Yeah, everything comes together. It is an artistic powerhouse of a film.
Oh, so in so many ways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where your name might have been better animated technically, the storyboarding here
It's
is
so good.
It's oh my god! I
And
can't.
did you notice that in scenes with Shoko, you can hear the static of her of the hearing aids?
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. Your name was a visual tour de force in the service of Let's Get Real, a pretty light, fluffy story.
Yeah.
This was using the medium of film and of animation to tell a story that matters so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
This is something you can take immediately after watching it, and it will, or at least it can help you see things in a different way, in a way that this medium, animation and media, can do so well. I love seeing it actually do that instead of just trying to fire off dopamine in my brain. I want to actually do something with what I'm given. And it's so good.
Yep.
Well,
So
we could gush all day, but unfortunately, we have to talk about some bullshit that is not nearly as good. So we're going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for joining us for this wonderful experience. If you have not seen it, what can I tell you by now? Go see it, and I suck at sign-offs.
yeah, A Silent Voice is coming to DVD and Blu-ray rather soon. Okay. Do you know when? Okay.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, it is coming to DVD and Blu-ray. They just kind of announced it.
Support it when it comes out.
Yeah, you know
Until
what?
then,
I
the
will-
internet exists.
I will put the date somewhere here. I'm not sure. I will put the date on screen of when the DVD and Blu-ray are being released. If that is actually available, they just announced that they were releasing it. So yeah. If not, then look out for that, because yeah, watch this film. There's no way around it. Thank you for joining us on Anime FMK. See you later, folks.
See ya.